Welcome back to the 11th Hour with my wonderful co-host here, Paul from What the Flock TV. How are you doing, my friend Paul? It's been a minute. We need to get better at doing these, my friend.
It's just been a while. It's been a while since we've done our last 11th hour that we nearly forgot what to say. It's the wait, what is it? What are we called again?
Well, we did really good on the first two. We did those like kind of back to back, and then we've
Yeah,
just been slacking for a little
yeah. We've
over a
been
month here.
well. I'll say I've not been as busy as you. You've been a superstar. You've been banging them out like and creating a little empire for yourself, and you're getting some justly rewards now. So that's good. I mean, I watched the last few of your videos, which were really good. Tell people what the last few videos and guests that you've had on, just so they can have a little flavour of what you do on your own as well, if they're not aware.
Well, my last show was Dr. Paul H. Smith. He was involved in the DIA and Army Intelligence Stargate program, which was to study psychics, remote viewers, ESP, and stuff like that. And the person that I had on before that was Dr. Joseph Farrell. He's a Harvard has a Harvard PhD, and we talked about JFK assassination. And my channel is just like I don't really have like a really big focus. I mean, for the past 3 or 4 months now, I've had a big focus on the Stargate and remote viewing aspect and psychic abilities, because I think that it's important for people to realize now they don't have to believe in it. They don't have to believe in psychic phenomena or remote viewing or anything like that, but it's important to realize that the government was studying these kinds of abilities. Right? It started with SRI International in 73, and then the Army Intelligence got a hold of it and started their own program, and then so did the DIA, and then they kind of combined forces around 78. So that's really what I'm just trying to get across. It's not that people need to believe that remote viewing and psychics and stuff like that is actually real. It's just that I think that it's important for people to realize that it's an actual that the government was actually studying these things, right? And that it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, what I get is, and this is no downfall of yourselves or anyone in who's looking into that field or anything. This is more on the community outside of it. When these topics get labelled because of the indoctrination that we've all had through the community by saying this stuff is laughable, this stuff is no. Remember, we have labelled it this. Now, if, for instance, remote viewing or Stargate program was named something else, and a huge channel said it was this, everyone would be running to your channel, running to this topic, and flocking to it. It's only because we have given it this false label. Like I said, I'm not saying yay or nay, but I'm just saying you have to give topics a chance in the sense of we have to label it something. We have to give it a name for something. And sometimes these labels stick and people think it's like a fringe community, but we're not a really community of sorts anyway. So give every topic its due diligence and its respect that people have put in. You don't have to believe. If you do not believe, you just move on to the next topic. But if people have put, and yourself have put hours into a topic, and remember the truth, I keep saying it and people just don't take it on board. The truth is a perspective. It is personal. It's you. That's why the spell of the truth has you right in the middle, because it affects you only. And when people get triggered, it's just the spell fighting back saying, oh, you can't believe that because that's not truth. That is not fact. These topics have to be looked at. You don't have to. I'm just saying these have to be given the respect. These topics deserve, all topics deserve respect, because someone will believe in any topic. It can be what you've mentioned or something else. But people believe in this because people have seen things. Now, you can get onto it on your high horse. So, well, they've been seeing things, they've been doing this, and they're influenced by this and this. It could be the same for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This world is based on spells and witchcraft. Do you know what I mean? And these topics have to be looked at, and like any other topic, because there is something in each topic that will give you an aha moment and will help you in your journey. Screw what a big channel says this is it and this is, have it, you have, your own self to go out and have a look and then look at it and think, no, I don't like this, don't watch it again. But do you know what I mean? Have a wide range. It's like going into a fruit shop and just having one fruit in the store. You're gonna get bored. You're gonna taste the same. Go into a shop that has a wide range. And a wide range, at least then you can pick out what you want to take home.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a few comments on that most recent video that was like, well, I don't believe in remote viewing. I don't believe in saying, well, that wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video was to let you know that the government and three-letter agencies in the military in the United States did believe in it. And they studied it for almost 20 years. Well, a little over 20 years, right?
I mean, like you just said, they've been looking to it, so they believe it. Now, once if you give remote viewing a different name, a catchy name, or something like spying into the brain, something that people don't know is what is associated with the topic, and then you look at a different voice to skull technology is similar to remote viewing. Do you know what I mean? And putting voices into the head, but you're looking obviously the other way. It's just, I don't like it when people just diss something because a community said it's this. Do you know what I mean? It's just so wrong because we've been dissing ourselves for far too long. We should embrace a little bit of difference. Like I said, you don't have to watch it, you don't have to take it on board, but give something a chance because you never know. You might hit on a point, your guest might hit on a point, and the government, surely for the government to take it serious, they have seen some data somewhere. Sure, you know what I mean? Something has worked, something has happened for them to say, you know what, we have to look into this. It's not just a case of wasting money. And you know what I mean? I know it's reprintable and all that, but you're not going to waste your time and effort into something if there's no end product.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And a lot of people were like, where's Paul at? What's Paul doing? He's not making videos anymore. What's happening? And I'm like, no, Paul's still making videos. He's just kind of, stringing them out over a course of time and doing them when he wants to do it. That's what I tried to explain to people. And I think that that's a really good way to do it, my friend. You're doing super
like I said, I love doing videos with you because you've had me back. And when people have me back and, we're helping each other out, that's cool. I will do what I can for you and other people that's had me back. But when you start letting trolls not get you down, because they don't get me down, but do you know what I mean? Because I'm doing so much outside of YouTube land. When you start caring what people negative comments say about you, you're like, oh, well, let me just say this because, let's try and work around this. It's not, some people will just troll for trolling. It doesn't matter what great things that you say. And I'll swear, fuck them. Do you know what I mean? If someone has a negative thing to say about you, that shows you their mind frame and their mindset. You know what I mean? When you do a video, it's like you've made your effort. You've took yourself to come into here and to be negative and trolled. And that's just my point. So I have to take a step back in the sense of I'm not going to like bang a video, like I was doing like one a week and sometimes more if they're a short one, and it's just too much. I had no me time in the sense of just sitting down, thinking, reading, anything, listening to music. I just didn't have time to switch off. And I always say to people in the community, we've had this chat many times, you have to have off time. You have to separate yourself from the so-called truth topics, the truth research, and just let your brain have a minute. Because when it starts working overload all the time, it starts to affect your body. It starts to affect your torus field, everything. It's weakening because you're constantly on. You need to just have an off time, and that's what I've done. I'm doing other things in regard to things around house, gym, anything that I find I want to do. Obviously, I've got children, so I've been doing that anyway, but making it extra more time for them. And it makes you a better person. When you do these topics, surely the end game is to have a good quality of life. And when you're doing these, if I was doing this all the time, I'm actually defeating what I'm doing because I've got things to do in the real life and people, need me more than people on YouTube. So I thought I'm just going to take a step back in the sense of I'm just going to slow it down. I'm not going to rush a video because I'm that excited. People know I get really excited about getting content out and a video and seeing people's perspective on it. But now I'm just doing it and I'm just letting it go when it's ready and then doing other things in the meantime. And I might be able to do more lives or things like this because I love being spontaneous.
Absolutely. And you know what's really weird was last night I went to the movies and I saw Knock at the Cabin, that new M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's about like the end of the world and
I saw the trailer.
yeah. So whenever I got home from watching that movie, my roommate was like, "Bro, there's something exploded over Montana in Billings, Montana, in the sky." And I was like, "What are you talking?" So I like looked it up, and it was just really weird because that movie that I watched last night in the theater had like all these planes and stuff like falling out of the sky and stuff. And then whenever I got back home, there was something legitimately that fell out of the sky. It was a really weird correlation there, but um, and this is huge right now, and I want to get your thoughts and opinions on it. This Chinese spy satellite that is supposedly going around the United States and just lazily listing over Montana and all these different places. And apparently, there was an explosion in Billings, Montana, over the sky, and someone videotaped it. And then now it's been like this cover up thing, and the mayor or the governor came out and said that there wasn't any explosion in the sky, when there's like proof of video of a actual explosion in the sky. So, what do you think is going on with this Chinese spy satellite nonsense?
Well, we did a video, didn't we, on your own channel talking about this months ago. But what's funny is a lot of people in the community and myself have been talking about how balloons are just Satelloons for the last decade. I know I have. I've been talking about Project Loon for ages, which is obviously the Wi-Fi, portable Wi-Fi, basically using the satellites as Wi-Fi. And it's just so funny that how this has seemed to grab everyone's attention because it's been labeled, whether you believe it rightly or wrongly, a Chinese spy satellite on a balloon. All satellites are on balloons. That is the ironic thought of it. And people can call me all they want who don't believe in it. It's a fact. You can just go to NASA's own website, type in balloon satellite launches, and they show you. Now, what other proof do you need? There's also proof that they're using aeroplanes as portable satellites, to interlock the grid. So for this to get such attention, that has to make you think. I mean, why blame the China? Is it a Chinese one? Who knows? I mean, even the defense system for the USA is a huge balloon. You can actually go Google that or whatever search engine and just type it in defense balloon. So they're all using balloons and or planes or whatever you want to use, because obviously planes can have cameras on it. I'm not that stupid, but you know what I mean. It's a sense of balloons, high altitude balloons can stay up there for I think it's weeks. Even there was a new one being talked about. It was lasting for 6 months. There's actually an organization, a branch of the army or private now, that actually go up and retrieve satellites that start losing their altitude before they fall down and crash. So it just seems to me, is why are they pushing this agenda? Do you know what I mean? Is it now time for USA versus China, March 16, or whatever they're up to now, of pushing that agenda? I mean, yes, you say it got filmed in the explosion. They can tie ammunition or artillery shells or missiles to these satellites and just drop them anywhere. Could it be a USA one to do it and blame someone else? Could it be a black ops funded organization of branch? Yes, it's all of the above, because we don't have the information. And so if someone comes out and says it's this, there's no way you've proven it. You can see and theorize. There's just so many angles to it, and it's just funny because people have been arguing the case of, oh, look at this, is a balloon on the satellite. That's what's been going on for the last 30, 40 years when the so-called been having satellites. It's always been on these balloons. that's the ironic nature and the twist of the story. What's your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of theories and opinions about this. And I think the UFO Twitter kind of blew up on it because they thought maybe it was, the government or the military coming out and saying that, it's a weather balloon or Chinese weather balloon when it's really a UFO to try and get ahead of it whenever it's, maybe it was some kind of advanced technology that they knew that they couldn't stop or they knew that they couldn't do. So they came out and tried to get ahead of it and be like, hey, yeah, there's a Chinese weather balloon that's being around. So if people in the United States actually seen it, they would automatically believe that it's a weather balloon, not a actual UFO, which is one of the theories. And then another theory is that it is just a weather balloon and then someone shot it down. And then they're like, well, if they knew that a Chinese weather balloon surveillance spy technology was in the sky over the United States, why didn't they shoot it down? Why are they just continuously, letting it go, which then also feeds into the UFO theory as well. So I don't really know. I think that if anything, it's just a giant distraction. It's just to divert your attention to something else while they're doing something else over here.
You know what's
That's
funny,
what I see it as.
Ryder? When I was a child, let me have a guess how old I would have been. 7, 8, 9, something like that. I had a weather balloon in my bedroom. Yeah, seriously, I had a weather balloon blown up in my bedroom.
Well, I think the other thing that people are correlating to the UFO thing is because that's what they blamed Roswell on back in 1947. They were like, "Oh, it's just a crash weather balloon," And then it could be an actual one of these high altitude balloons that they've been using for internet, and they've realized that they can't get it, and it's coming down into where people can actually see it, and then they're trying to cover it up by saying, they don't want people to realize that we've been using weather balloons to get internet access for a decade or more.
That balloon I was talking about lasted months in my bedroom. It lasted months. It was blown up. I don't know why. Like I said, family were in the army and all that, and I just thought, I want to have a weather balloon, so I got it blown up and I got it put in my bedroom. I had white powder in it as well inside. That's when it eventually popped, and it lasted months. But yeah, like I said, there is a lot of nays and yays about this topic. It's just one way we've got to look at it in a positive. Surely that people are now thinking who weren't into these topics. Hey, you know what? If that's a spy satellite, why are they actually putting it on why are they putting it on a balloon, even if it's from China? So surely that's getting people thinking that it ain't all, like you see them when you see them thrillers or action films. Oh, we've got a satellite now coming over the United States, and they're zooming in and blah blah. In fact, they're all on balloons, and that's the ironic thing. And they don't hide it. You know what I mean? And that's just the so funny thing that now it seems to have taken off. You know what I mean? We've all done memes. You made memes. I've made memes on it, and it's just really good banter to have. We in our community, in the community, we're laughing at it because it's, why is it taking for so long when you can research Project Loon? I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, if you type in Project Loon, Loon, it talks about, this is 10, 15 years ago, about satellites being used for Wi-Fi floating over. And if you're not sure what loon means you're stupid, an idiot. That's the etymology of it. So they're calling you an idiot to your face, and having all these satellites on balloons and having an organization, the branches of the army, going up and collecting them. And the odd one will fall, and you will see it on news channels and in a field as what looks like a satellite. Think about it. They're telling you that all these satellites miraculously either survive for years and years up there or go to the satellite graveyard up there. That one that you can't see but can see when they actually show you the images. But when you go into certain images, you can't see nothing in space. You know what I mean? So it is just an ironic, funny twist on what's going on, that, what they're trying to push an agenda now, because there's always going to be a flip side to it. We've talked about the positive side, that people thinking now for themselves. there'll be a flip side where you can have people shooting at balloons and everything in the sky, thinking it's being spied on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you really blew my mind when we first talked about this, probably like, I don't know, 7, 8 months ago or something on my
Yeah.
channel. I forget what the title of the show is. I think is something like how we get internet a lie or something like that. And
Yeah, something like that.
we go into all this. So yeah, if you're interested and you want more knowledge about, just watch our previous video together on my channel, or just research Project Loon, because I was trying to find it last night, and they've done a weird thing where they've switched around the words. So it's either Project Loon or the Loon Project, and you can click on it. It's right on NASA's website, and then it's like 16 pages, and it tells you everything about how they use high altitude balloons to give internet to people on the ground, which is really interesting. And another thing that we talked about in that episode too was underground sea cables is how we get a lot of our internet data and internet access as well, which is super interesting. It was mind blowing, that show, whenever you told me that.
Yeah, it's just people just assume the basics. I mean, like a satellite signal, and people will say, "Oh, if I go into the country, why am I not getting a satellite signal or a phone signal? And you've got to use a satelloon phone." Do you know what I mean? It's just there, guys. It's there for you to look. And what I always say in my videos, don't take my word for it. Never take my word for it. I'm capable, of making a mistake or looking at something a little bit different. So never take what I say or make my videos. Go and look for yourself, because your perspective will be slightly different. You'll find something more than me. So just go and research it and just show you how much of the lie this reality actually is. No such thing as satellites in the sense of flying around at so many thousand miles an hour, covering the blanket of Earth. No, they're on satellites. They've just proven it. Why would Chinese have it on a balloon? Wouldn't it be safer and easier for it's in space and to go across instead of just floating away in a stratosphere or whatever level it was in? It would, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? So it just.
And another thing too is that we see satellites drop all the time, so it makes sense. How would they be, dropping? It makes sense that they would be on a balloon. That's how they're dropping to the ground. Like we've seen those blinking lights in the sky, which I'm under the impression that anything that's blinking in the sky is a man-made object. So if it's blinking, that means that it has identifiers on it, like the military and planes and satellites and stuff like that. So, and when we see those things dropping from the sky, then it makes sense that it's on a weather balloon, right? That would be it only makes sense, right? Logically.
What's funny is, if I'm just going to look while I'm here, if you guys go on something like, a flight tracker app, and you will actually see balloons floating around on it, labeled, obviously a balloon, NASA balloon, etc., etc. Many times I've gone looking at the States and look for planes, and you'll see little circles flying around, and they're just balloons, not like, travel and sightseeing balloons. They're these things that we talk about. You'll find the odd one on it. Many times I've taken pictures of it flying around. So just go to the flight radar things, and sometimes you can click on them and it will give you certain information. So please try that. I mean, I have found it many times around Florida way and Cuba where these balloons, you know what I mean? I mean, you can just do it, live. Do you know what I mean? You can just see the flight radar map, and you show your helicopters and planes, and you'll find the odd time you'll have balloons on it. It'll sometimes say Starlink. So all these things are there for us to be observed and to be seen. And that is the great thing about, one of the great things about this community is people will do a lot of work and find out what these possibilities are, but you still got to not take their word for it, because again, we're human. Some of us sometimes have an agenda. I'm not, I don't personally have one, but you get it. People have an agenda. People want to promote something, And this is just the mindset. For instance, all these Armageddon and apocalyptic type of films and TV series. It's all to get you programmed into accepting a theory. You know what I mean? So you're not like, wow, what's going on? Oh, is it an apocalyptic event? And so on and so on.
Yeah, I've seen more apocalyptic shows and movies in the last 2 months than I think that I ever have. It's really interesting. And I don't know if that's like some kind of predictive programming or if it's what they want us to believe is going to happen. Right? Because you have like all these, you have Vesper on Netflix, you got The Last of Us right now, which I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for end of the world movies. That's why I went and seen Knock at the Cabin with M. Night Shyamalan. I liked it. I thought that it was good, and the twist wasn't really the twist. The the whole what you thought was happening was actually happening, which was actually really cool. I like that he did that. But it seems like we are getting flooded and hit with a lot of apocalyptic end of the world type of scenario. And then when you look at the real world, what's going on with supply chain disruptions, egg shortages. We've had a shortage on basically almost every product since 2020 now. So, and then people think that it's just going to somehow, go back to normal, which I don't think that we're just going to keep getting shortages and shortages after shortages. And next thing it's going to be is like, there's going to be a meat shortage, and then there's going to be this shortage and that shortage. It's just going to keep going on down the line. I personally believe.
Yeah, they just like game of control. And I mean, obviously, when you look into the word apocalypse and apocalyptic, it doesn't actually mean the end. You know what I mean? It's just like a circle of life. You know what I mean? It might be end of your life, but in a sense, it's not going to be end of the world in the sense of, the world's going to disappear and nothing's there. Do you know what I mean? It's still going to be here. It's just like the circle of life. You know what I mean? But what we're talking about is the circle of life. Not necessarily, it's not in our control sometimes. You know what I mean? They, them, who, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, the El-Shites that I call them. So there's so many names for them. It's them who have an agenda, who try and, like I said, weaken our minds because they get off on it. You know what I mean? It's just, the zookeeper, that bad zookeeper that you have. You'll have zookeepers that actually care for the animals and they want to set them free, or because they can't set them free, they'll actually take care, give them a good quality of life, but they're still in the zoo. And then you'll have the zookeeper who'll be, flicking the noses, hurting them, and that type of mentality. And that's just like life, that you're gonna have them type of people in it. And that's why I'm begging people, get over certain things and just let it ride. Do you know what I mean? If you don't like a channel, I mean, I don't like certain channels, but I'm not going trolling them. And you just try and like put them to one side. And if someone then asks, that's your personal belief. But don't waste your time in it. We've got only an ample, time doesn't exist and all that, but you only have a certain set amount of time through being slaves to this reality. So why not do something that makes you smile than something that makes you frown? It's so obvious, isn't it? And that's what this reality has us. It has us focusing on what we don't like instead of what we can change to do. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, there's only so much things we can do, but why not try and chip away and get more things that we do like or do make us smile? Because they're very far and few between these days. And we're becoming more and more of a negative type of person and community.
Agreed. And that's why we made those memes about China and the Chinese satellite.
I mean, what are they doing memes about America and everyone else around the world? I mean, it'd be so funny, and it's just ironic, and it does make you laugh. Humor is key. You know what I mean? Making you laugh, and we don't laugh enough. Do you know what I mean? But we can change that, surely.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. And I love memes. And whenever I have a good idea, I think it's a super solid idea. And you've been making memes for a while. I really enjoy them. Just putting a smile on someone's face, because we strive for human connection, right? And it feels like that we've been divided on a bunch of different levels, especially, through our technology. Like, things are so different out in the real world than they were even in the 90s. Right? Things have changed so much that there's like a dividing wedge that's been rammed right through us. People don't, say hi, how are you doing? They don't carry on a conversation with random people like they used to. So we've had this disconnecting force among the population that's driven this giant wedge between us, that the only things that we can really communicate on anymore is like through our phone, through our computer,
Yeah.
which makes sense when we're at this far a distance. You're in the UK, I'm in, the US. So that makes sense. But, like, I guess the empathy and the connection between people just in your town or just in your neighborhood isn't really even there anymore. And I believe that that's done on purpose.
Yeah, it started after, maybe, I'm being kind, I think it started to change after World War II, and then in the 60s or the 70s, like the so-called nuclear family in the Western world, because obviously the rest around the world do have more of a connection with grandparents who still live with them, and so on and so on. But in the Western world, this so-called nuclear family started to change, and then the attitudes change to neighbors, and it's right, it's all done by design. It's all to make you feel alone. You know what I mean? You're alone. What can you do? Oh, well, no one's talking to me outside. What can I do? Let me go into the 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 surreal whatever you want to call it these days, the internet type of way, and connect to friends there, which is, it's weird because I was talking about this today. It seems to have more of a connection on there, and that's what it's been done by design. You feel more at home online, even though it's a beast and it's evil, but it's also taking your energy. It's drawing it out of you. It's making you like zombies in sense of, how long can you sit there and not look at your phone? You know what I mean? We all do it. And that's why I say to people, why are you, I know I'm What the Flock TV and I got ahead of the TV, because that's ironic, because people have been saying for so long, television and all that. What's the phone? Oh, I forgot what the phone says. Oh, we're changing them to Truth Mobile. It's like, no, it's just as much of a propaganda indoctrination tool as the TV. So is the computer, and so is the book. It's no different. But the focus has been put onto that, which, yes, it can program and do all that, but so can everything else. It's just ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it used to be the radio, newspapers, and books, and then it transitioned into the TV, and then now it's still a box, but it's in your pocket now.
Yeah.
That's controlling you and giving you this information, or your computer, or whatever. It's really interesting how that it's evolved and it's changed, and it's kind of gotten people to believe it more because they have easier access to it. It used to be
Yeah.
you would have to, go home, turn on the TV to watch the news to get any kind of information. Now all the information is at our fingertips. We can easily look it up, and that's kind of reinforced a narrative that people were almost waking up to back in the day about television, and now they flipped it up and then gave us a television in our pocket.
Yeah, that's what it is. Just a miniature version. And like I said, they're all bad, but they also have some good. How do you meet people online? For instance, me and you, we'd never have met if it wasn't for the internet, the other version of the TV. So yes, it does have its pitfalls and its indoctrination and its evil, but it has its good. We always seem to focus on the bad than the good, and we all have to label something. This is what I was mentioning to, I think it was Chris when I was on his show on, for anyone who wants to know, it was on Forbidden News Knowledge, and I was talking about, and we've talked about many times, why do we have to label things? Why do we have to label it? Why does God, and this is no slight dig at anyone, why does God in this reality need a label. Why does he need a name? Because people have gone to war over his name, and the people in the community that I see on a daily basis arguing over the fact, no, you don't say his name like that. No, you don't say his name like this. It's this way. I've read this. This book's 50 years old. Oh, well, this book I'm reading now says it's 1,000 years older than that. And this is how you pronounce it. And they're falling out over it. When you have to go sit back and stand back deeper, God does not need a name. He doesn't need a name. He doesn't want a name. He's in here. The creator's in us, you know, and that got me thinking, and I'm putting into the new video, but you will know this bit. Like, think about it. We label things because how we label something, it's all frequency and energy and vibration. So we have to label an object for it to stick and manifest and keep in this reality. It keeps in this void. But we're in a void. You've seen it in Genesis. You know, the waters above, the waters below, created from the void, the nothing. The void, OID, means to create and form. So when we're thinking and when we're giving something a label, we're in this form. That's the power of us. We can create something and keep it labeled and put into this reality. Pen, marker, it's in this reality now, and it will always will be. And that's how things stick in this realm. We name it. Label, you know, La is a song, it's a frequency, it's a tune, it's a melody, and Bel is Baal, God of the earth, and another name for Janos. So and that is where atmospheric memory that I've talked about is talking about the void, the ode, OID, backwards, DIO, and it means divine, heavenly, heavens. So something is we have to create to keep it in this realm. And that's why we give everything a label. You don't label something, you're free. How many times have we seen people or films when someone says, don't label me, I want to be free? You know what I mean? They label us at birth with a birth certificate. That's your name, your IP address, your router address, straight at birth. That's why you get stamped. That's why it's so severe, you know, so much on this. You know, the Papal Bulls talk about having our soul. It's your IP address. It's your router address. It's your, you know, where do you live, right? How do you get a letter through your letterbox? Because, you know, you put your address, your name, your postcode, your zip code, so on. You know what I mean? We give everything a label. And when you don't label anything, if I don't label it, how can I get all this? You know what I mean? That's why some people do live off grid, because it's unlabeled. You know what I mean? So that, you know what I mean? We have to look at it that way. The creator does not need a name. We're the creator in this realm, and he works through us. You know what I mean?
The only question I would have with that, Paul, would be, did this become something natural that was done to us? Did we naturally just start to label things in order to identify them, right? Because if we didn't have labels for certain stuff, we would just be like, could you hand me the didgeridoo over there? Can you hand me the waka laka over there? You know, and people wouldn't really know what you were talking about. So then it becomes like an issue there too, you know?
Pass me the dildo. You know what I mean? I think I have to lower it down. Yeah, think about it. And then you're going back to the thing, did you actually use our voice? You know, voice of God, the vocal cords. Was it like you said? And these are brilliant points, because this is what we have to look into. And like anything, I believe it's been bastardized. We're in a realm. Think about it. We made, I'm not saying we Pacific, but I have to say it like that. We made a reality to live in that is so beautiful. You can do, you know, it's like a Star Trek holodeck in a sense. You know what I mean? You have your parameters. I know you can't, you know, so we're coming to this realm to have fun in a sense, and it's been something's taken over and changed the script. Do you know what I mean? Now, whether that's a natural selection, you know what I mean? It's sometimes you have good, sometimes you have bad, you know, flip and flop. You know what I mean? So has it been bastardized? Well, we can actually say yes. I mean, just look at anything. You can look at anything and give it another label, which is the right label for it. Do you know what I mean? How many times have we looked at spell etymology and broken it down, and it's gone direct to the source, yet it's not the same word? How is that possible? And that's my point I'm telling you. It's a world of spells. Different spells have different consequences, different cymatics. You know, you've heard me talk about it all the time. Cymatics is just, you know, sound being given form, and you can see it. That's why they use water, sand, and so on. The spell, the sound, is creating a pattern, which is a sigil. And this happens when it snows. Cold, the sound, the frequency hits, and it turns into snowflakes of lovely patterns. Do you know what I mean? That is a creator's cymatics. You know, snowflakes, and ours has been changed and bastardized. For instance, what was the original name for a pen? You know, or something. Oh, you know what I mean? I'm being as basic as I can, but when you start looking at etymology, how can I split a word up into 3 and still get to the point, you know, still get to that fact, but not through its name and the label of a spell? You know what I mean? And that's the thing that is got me intrigued. You know what I mean?
Do you think that this could have come about because of our language and our vocal cords
Yeah,
and the voice of God?
yeah,
You think that's how we started to label things and put certain words onto things and create them in our reality? Because this kind of goes into, my study into egregores and golems and stuff like that, which you've added onto that for me, because I believe that whatever we put out into the reality, it then creates it, right? So if we
yeah,
label something and we put our energy and our thoughts and our ideas into that, then it becomes something in our reality, whether it is actually real or not. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. Our thought power, our beliefs, and our energy is going into it, so therefore it's creating it.
yeah. And if you're, like I say, I always say, and I use this example because it's one of the best examples. If you're into supernatural, there was an episode where the very thing happened. A sigil was used, a spell was used, a scene, and that, I think it was called a topa or toka, and it was from Tibet. And these things do exist. And whatever people were thinking actually came. I mean, how many, came into existence? It's like you saying you watched a film on that, and you come home and something happened on it. Is it, how could you, can't be classing that as constantly a coincidence? How many times you thought of a friend's name and they've rang you instantly and you've not spoken to them in years? There is a connection between people. We're more powerful than people think. And it's been dumbed down in the sense of education. It's like having a spell book of 1,000 pages. And in a minute, we're working off 1 or 2 pages. Some of us are on 10, 20, 30. That's why we see things differently, and so on. Do you know what I mean? So they've just ripped the pages out. And this time period that people, like, a lot of people have watched it now and acknowledge it. But at a time, people weren't going for it. A time period when everything changed, the sciences, the vows to gods, change. I mean, think about it in the sense of this. I talked about this the other day, but look at it differently. So I'll draw a circle and I'll just put you in the middle of it. And that is what's known as the circumpunct. It's a symbol for knowledge, God, creation, and even this realm. If you look at it from above, again, perspective's changed. You know what I mean? And think about it when you learn something, you learn something new. For instance, a topic or anything, you make a video on it, don't you? And what do you call it? Oh, I'm going to drop a video. I'm going to drop a video. That's the term you use. So think of it as a stone. Let's drop that video and that stone into our little circle. What's it create? Oh, it's another circle. Well, so what? Well, now that I'm talking about this circle with you, and it's another bit of knowledge. Someone else talks about it, and they drop a stone, and then someone else, and it creates the ripple ever reaching, because it started getting talked about, a topic, and it becomes viral. Then it gets taken on as being fact and a reality. If some big channels do it, and that's what's wrong with history. People are taking a channel's comments and videos to be fact. Nothing is fact. Truth is not fact. Go and research it. I have. It tells you truth is not fact. The fact contains something true, but it's not totally fact. Same with the fact. It's perspective. If I was it's how you think bases on your reality. You tell me your name, I have to take it as fact that's your name. But you might be lying, but there's no way me prove it. You know what I mean? So this reality is all based on perspective and what information we take on board, because that helps us to picture this reality. That's why when you start looking at different topics and it opens your eyes, and then you go in the real world and you go, for FF's sake, I did not see that before. The reason you didn't see it before, because it was hidden to you. It's always been there. You just not seen it because the information did not, make your Taurus field pump out. And basically, it's like people talk about, like when people go in a cloaking device or something, but it's like a different way. It's like pumping it out. The more knowledge that you have creates more light. And I've said it to you many times. So you need more light in this reality, and you start seeing it. A better torch. There's always someone creating a better torch. You can go farther and farther. You can see farther. You can pick up more. You know what I mean? So this is what we need information for. And it helps us to get to that zone where we're creating all these ripples. You know what I mean? These ripples.
What's also interesting about that drawing that you just did, it also looks like a bullseye.
Yeah, and a target.
Like a dartboard bullseye, yeah.
Do you want me to give you a little bit of a little thing for my next video why you just mentioned that?
Yes, please.
You know what I mean? And everyone, ignore the video, because this is going to be in the video, right? And this is an intriguing bit. Right, what do you call the things that twinkle in the sky?
Stars.
And the sun and the moon. They were known as something. God said they're known as something, or people.
Stars?
But there's another name for them. Right, do you want me to show you?
Yeah.
They're also known as luminaries. Right? Now, if you search engine luminaries, it says it's light, right? As you can see, twinkle, twinkle, little star, the sun, the moon, light. But I'm not having that. I want to look into it more. So I did my thing. I split it up, right? So lumen does mean light, right? But also it means an opening, right? So open door or window, etc. Says it's in Enoch. Luminaries come through doors or portals. You are then left with luminaries. Do you know what it is in the end? Aries. Aries. Sounds familiar, that. Oh, it's the ram. So you're left with light of the ram, right? So you're left with the light of the ram, or opening of the ram, right? I'm not going to tell you any more in the sense of why it's essential, but if you think about it, and this is what I have included on my video, we're talking about the ram now and creation and the luminaries, right? And who do I always talk about, Ryder? Janos, right? Janos had horns. He's known as Horned One, Cernunnos. He's also been, his other name is this form. Four-headed ram in Egypt. Oh, and that is Khnum, right? Creation. He's known as, guess this, father of the fathers. Oh, wait. Is Janos known as Ionos Pater, Janos father and God of gods? Yes. And Khnum holds a key in one hand and a staff in the other. Oh, wait. So does Janos. Right. So that's when you then have to look at it in this way, right? The heavens are known as the ram. People think about ram. It's a sheep. It's a male sheep. But also, it's been uncastrated, but in the Bible, every sacrifice is to a ram. You know what I mean? That's a significant thing.
Which is also really interesting, Paul, is because the winter solstice, Jesus's death and resurrection is basically just copied from the winter solstice and what happens
Yeah,
astrologically during the winter solstice. The sun comes up, the sun hits Aries, right?
yeah,
Then it goes up to the constellation Crux, which is cross,
the cross.
that's crucified in the
Which is,
sky. Yeah, 11. And then it is entombed in the bowels of the earth for 3 days. And then it arises again. So that's really interesting how the sun goes up and goes through Aries, which is the ram that you just mentioned,
yeah,
and then it goes to the constellation Crux, and then it's crucified, and then it goes down to the bowels of the earth for 3 days. And those 3 days of the winter solstice are the shortest days of light that we have in the entire year, every year.
yeah. And also, and the light and Aries together. Now, think about it this way: it's a ram, right? And people talk about how we are all computer based and living in a computer, RAM, random access memory, where it talks about data. And how many people have seen the meme of us being data? And me talks about data. Data is also at the 11th on the third of thought. It's talk about Gnosticism, knowledge. It all ties to Janos. But what's funny is ram backwards is Ma, and in Latin that is the ocean and the sea. Wait, so they're talking about the waters above, yes, all connected, and this isn't even the
Mars,
yeah,
yeah.
and this is all not even connected to the main point of the video, which will absolutely blow your Jimmy socks off. I'm going to talk about thing. Honestly, it is. Oh, it's just I think this is going to be a hell of a video, and that is a little clue in a sense, but it's not. What it is I wanted to, if anyone's just watching for the first time by luck or something, or second, and they've not seen it, I did a video about hell and heaven being 11. And obviously Janus is connected to 11 and so on. And that got me thinking of the stars and how can we get to hell and heaven. And obviously people talk about hell and heaven being a portal. You know what I mean? And these are the things that we, if even Enoch, who's another name for Janos, yeah, strangely enough, the sun and moon is a portal. Oh, wait. Yeah. So these things are grabbing me attention. That's what made me look at luminaries, because that's what the sun and the moon are. And I'm also including, I will tell a little bit, is I'm talking about keys, and I found the keys, the little keys that help us to get in and out of hell and heaven. You know what I mean? I
Absolutely,
think
yeah.
about that. People have always asked about it, and I found it. And when I found it, I got the chills, I got emotional, and I started to cry. And when I'm on that, I know I've been pushed in the right direction. Think about it this way. The most famous keys in regard to this reality is the Vatican, right? What color are they? Can you remember?
Are they are they gold?
One's gold, yeah,
I'm not sure what the
and the other
others
one's
are.
silver. Gold and silver, supposed to represent the heavenly and the earthly. No, that's what I've been. That to me is a lie. I believe these are heaven and hell, right? Or good and evil, or good and sin, or whatever you want to call it. Now, the gold key, sun, obvious reason, it's the same color. The moon, what is silver,
Silver, yeah.
white, it fits. What is the name of an ancient god of the moon? Sin, from Sumeria, Sin City, and so on, right? So these keys are to cover to hell and heaven. In this picture, can I find it while I'm actually here? And it is, there's a picture of Jesus, because some believe, like I was talking to you off that Jesus went to hell to get, he died and went to hell to get the keys of the death and to the doors. Now,
Absolutely. People don't realize that, but in the
well, I'll let you carry on
Bible,
while I find this picture.
yeah. people don't realize that that's what happened after Jesus died in the Bible. It plainly states that Jesus descended into the bowels of hell. And I found that when I was really young, and I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, you know that the Bible said that Jesus descended into the bowels of hell after he was crucified? And I didn't know that. Maybe I didn't read the rest of the verse, or I've forgotten, and maybe I need to refresh my memory on exactly what he did. But you're saying that he got keys to hell?
Hell and heaven, yeah. He went to hell to get the keys. It says, this is not me saying this, it's just the research on what people, I can't say how many people said it, but it said when Adam and Eve, basically Adam did the first sin, they lost the domain and it went to Satan. You know what I mean? The key to death, etc., went to Satan. And Jesus died, not only to forgive our sins, to forgive the moon and our family's key. And when you see it, you're gonna be. I'm like this anyway. So there's a painting of Jesus giving peace to the keys. Now, when we hand over the keys, so you can see that painting. It's in the video, so don't worry if you can't see it. I mean, why have you got the arches behind and so on and so on, and it's like a pine cone. That's in the pine cone district, and we know it. I forgot its name. The Pantheon in Rome. It was actually bronze originally, and if you look at Jesus giving them the keys, and I'll zoom in as much as I can. It will be blurred, but look how he's handed them. You do not hand people keys like that. Never. It's the height of rude, but it's not effective. So that he has handed them the keys with the gold one pointing where? Up, and the silver key pointing down, where supposedly hell is. You do not pass people keys like that. Never. You never take one key and then have all dangle. You get them in the bunch, or you fold them, the best you can, and you hand them over. There is other images showing them handing the two keys together. So, and basically it says, they give them the power over hell, and and I read some of them verses for you that it's going in the video. But I've found the key, what I personally believe the key, and it fits everything that I've told you, everything what I've mentioned. And so it's really significant, this. And people ask, well, what can we do with the information? It's a sense of when it changes your reality and your perspective, you know what I mean? And maybe when you get to a certain amplification, something will happen. Or is it when we've died? Or I don't know, but people, what's that called now? Astral projects of things.
Yes.
So think about it. They have a certain key, right? Think about it now. The Vatican keys, the gold and silver, and the like intercross. But when you see the papal keys and the Holy See, the bound in a red cord. That red cord, to me personally, is our flesh. It's been bound. Remember what I said at the beginning, without you knowing it? Why do we label things in this reality? To keep them here. What's keeping us here? But we've been bound by blood, by spells, by magic. And in certain times, when we are not also, we sleep in or whatever, we disconnect from this vessel, we can go and experience, because we have that ability. Not everyone has the ability, only a certain few, and that's what they're trying to stop. People can do a lot of brilliant, miraculous things, but this vessel, this ship, they want to keep you harnessed and stuck to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they want to keep us held down. They want to keep us held back, and that's done in an array of ways. That's done through medications, pharmaceutical medications. It's done through what they spray in the air. It's done through our food. It's done through, water. It's all meant to, I personally believe, to dumb down our spiritual connection and cut our antenna to anything for us to even be able to perceive anything outside of ourselves, or even not even outside of ourselves, even within ourselves, right? Because I think that that's where a lot of this comes from, is within each individual, and it's destroyed the ability for people to go within themselves to experience something outside themselves, if that makes any sense.
And that's why we get people like Elon wearing all this stuff. And when you talk about the devil, what, he's always horned. That's ironic, isn't it? Like the ram. You know, so I believe this is my best video that's going to come up. And, you know, I can't hold me stuff sometimes, but because I want to share it. You know, I want to share what I found and show people what crazy things go on his head. And this is one of them. I wasn't looking at this topic. I was looking at the luminaries. And when I broke it down, why is luminaries Aries? And what will happen though is, I know you mentioned that brilliant thing about the sun, and obviously Janos is connected to the solstice. They're called June, or what was it called? It's out of my brain now. It's gone. It was something type of door. Junior Colii or an Inferni, meaning, you know, the both the gates of the solstice. So they're named after for Janos, but he's also this. But I don't want you to get too transfixed, people who's watching this, who's going to watch the video on Aries, in the sense of this is a twist. There's a twist, and this twist is what will keep you know, everything together, and you'll go pardon for the swearing, but you will go fuck a duck. You know what I mean? It is brilliant. You know what I mean? And like I said, I just love these topics. I love thinking out the box. Does it mean it's right? No, but why is the luminaries named after a ram? And then you start looking at other realities on civilizations and cultures. And I knew about Canum because obviously I researched Janus for years and years, and he's another aspect of it, because obviously the four-headed ram, and that also is the aspect of, at the time, you know, there was the fourth essence of the soul and the directions and so on. So it all ties in together, but you don't get here if you don't think out loud. And that's why I tell people, watch channels, watch us, get some information, and it helps you to point, but do it yourself. Think for yourself, make your content, whether it's posting or it's actual video and things that we do. But think for yourself. Screw the agenda. Screw you listening to and saying these people are gods and prophets and so on. We need people. We need the bodies. We need to have a different mind. For instance, we're talking to you and you give me inspiration here, and you know, it helps, because that interaction, you don't know what people know until you talk. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of this reality and the internet. If you don't talk, you will never be, you know, make friends. I've some, like I said, I'm friends with you, and with Chris and other people, and obviously Steve, who passed away. You know, what I talk to nearly every day. And you know what I mean? You don't get into this reality. You have to. It's like you sat there in your little circle. I want to make friends, but if you don't go out, you're never going to meet anyone. It's very rare someone will just fall into your circle. Sometimes that's fate, but you know, you have to go and do it yourself. You have to go and post stuff. You have to have it's like me, you know, wanting to get to hear people hear my voice. I know you can't hear it half the time, but you know what I mean. And it's like, well, if you're not going on YouTube, if you're not going on Instagram, if you're not on Twitter, and you're not on this, people are not going to hear you. You know what I mean? So you have to go and do it. You have to go into the belly of the beast. And one video from you, one video from me, and so on could help someone. Why is that not a beautiful thing?
It is very beautiful, and that's why I keep doing it. I mean, several people can not like what I do or not like what I'm saying or whatever, but as long as I help one person, then that's really all that matters. I think we've gone over an hour. We only doing an hour on the show. I don't know how it works, but we've just been going on and on. Paul, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap it up, and let people know where they can find you online as well?
Yeah, my last thought is I'll send you that video on midget porn as soon as we're finished. Thanks for that bestiality one last night. That was an eye opener. That I'm only joking, folks. You know what I mean? I just have to cause a little bit of mischief. Yeah, if you want to find me, I am on the 11th Hour. I know we got there in the end. I'm also What the Flock TV on YouTube. I am What the Flock TV on Twitter. I've gone back on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. And there we go, guys. Oh, I've just gone on Odyssey now because obviously my last video got the YouTube and deleted. So I've put that onto a new Odyssey, What the Flock TV. And that video is about overpopulation and the hoax about that. And they deleted that. They had none of that. So you can find me on them platforms. I will be going on more.
It was because of that title, Paul. You can't be putting those titles on the YouTube.
Red alert, red alert. But there you go, guys.
They immediately hit you with that. They'll hit you with the ram on that one, dude. They rammed you. They rammed you hard.
They did. They rammed it too hard.
Yeah, that's what I discovered is the titles of your show, dude. The titles of your show make the biggest difference. But that's also a problem is because we want people to know what we're talking about in the show, but sometimes you can't make the title exactly what you're talking about in the show. So it's a really tricky and a weird thing to navigate, but thanks so much for your time here today, Paul. Appreciate you. Let's do another one here soon. You can find me on Raised by Giants on YouTube and all the different podcast platforms. Thank you guys so much. See you all next time.